St. Columba was an Irish abbot and missionary credited with spreading Christianity in what is today Scotland at the start of the Hiberno-Scottish mission. He founded the important abbey on Iona, which became a dominant religious and political institution in the region for centuries. He is the patron saint of Derry. He was highly regarded by both the Gaels of Dál Riata and the Picts, and is remembered today as a Christian saint and one of the 12 apostles of Ireland. Columba studied under some of Ireland's most prominent church figures and founded several monasteries in the country. Around 563, he and his 12 companions crossed to Dunaverty near Southend, Argyll in Kintyre before settling in Iona in Scotland, then part of the Irish kingdom of Dál Riata, where they founded a new abbey as a base for spreading Christianity among the northern Pictish kingdoms who were pagan. He remained active in Irish politics, though he spent most of the remainder of his life in Scotland. 3 surviving early medieval Latin hymns may be attributed to him. Early life in Ireland. Columba was born to Fedlimidin Ithne of the Sennel Conel in Garden, near Loch Gartin, in modern County Donegal, in Ireland. On his father's side, he was great-great-grandson of Niall of the Nine Hostages, an Irish high king of the 5th century. He was baptized in Temple Douglas, in the County Donegal parish of Conwell, by his teacher and foster uncle St. Crunachthan. It is not known for sure if his name at birth was Columba or if he adopted this name later in life. Adomnan of Iona thought it was his birth name, but other Irish sources have claimed his name at birth was Crunachthan. In the Irish language his name means dove, which is the same name as the prophet Jonah, which Adomnan of Iona as well as other early Irish writers were aware of, although it is not clear if he was deliberately named after Jonah or not. When sufficiently advanced in letters he entered the monastic school of Mouville at Newtownards, under St. Finian, who had studied at St. Ninian's Magnum Monasterium on the shores of Galloway. He was about 20, and a deacon when, having completed his training at Mouville, he travelled southwards into Leinster, where he became a pupil of an aged bard named Gemin. On leaving him, Columba entered the monastery of Clonard, governed at the time by Finian, noted for sanctity and learning. Here he imbibed the traditions of the Welsh Church, for Finian had been trained in the schools of St. David. In early Christian Ireland the Druidic tradition collapsed due to the spread of the new Christian faith. The study of Latin learning and Christian theology in monasteries flourished. Columba became a pupil at the monastic school at Clonard Abbey, situated on the River Boyne in modern County Meath. During the 6th century, some of the most significant names in the history of Irish Christianity studied at the Clonard Monastery. It is said that the average number of scholars under instruction at Clonard was 3,000. Columba was one of 12 students of St. Finian who became known as the 12 Apostles of Ireland. He became a monk and eventually was ordained a priest. Another preceptor of Columba was St. Mopey, whose monastery at Glasnevin was frequented by such famous men as St. Canis, Street, Comgall, and St. Kieran. A pestilence which devastated Ireland in 544 caused the dispersion of Mopey's disciples, and Columba returned to Ulster, the land of his kindred. He was a striking figure of great stature and powerful build, with a loud, melodious voice which could be heard from one hilltop to another. The following years were marked by the foundation of several important monasteries: Derry, County Londonderry; Durrow, County Offaly; Kells, County Meath; and Swords. While at Derry it is said that he planned a pilgrimage to Rome and Jerusalem, but did not proceed farther than Tours. Thence he brought a copy of those Gospels that had lain on the bosom of St. Martin for the space of 100 years. This relic was deposited in Derry. Tradition asserts that, sometime around 560, he became involved in a quarrel with St. Finian of Mouville Abbey over a psalter. Columba copied the manuscript at the scriptorium under St. Finian, intending to keep the copy. St. Finian disputed his right to keep the copy. The dispute eventually led to the Picts Battle of Culdrymne and Hiberno-Scottish in 561, during which many men were killed. A second grievance that led him to induce the clan Neil to rise and engage in battle against King Diarmait at Culdrymne in 561 was the king's violation of the right of sanctuary belonging to Columba's person as a monk on the occasion of the murder of Prince Cernan, the saint's kinsman. Prince Cernan of Connaught, who had fatally injured a rival in a hurling match and had taken refuge with Columba, was dragged from his protector's arms and slain by Diarmait's men, in defiance of the rights of sanctuary. A synod of clerics and scholars threatened to excommunicate him for these deaths, but Street, Brendan of Burr spoke on his behalf, with the result that he was allowed to go into exile instead. Columba's own conscience was uneasy, and on the advice of an aged hermit, Malaise, he resolved to expiate his offense by going into exile and win for Christ as many souls as had perished in the terrible Battle of Culdrymne. He left Ireland to return only once, many years later. Columba's copy of the Psalter has been traditionally associated with the Catharque of St. Columba, Scotland. In 563, he travelled to Scotland with 12 companions in a wicker carrack covered with leather. According to legend, he first landed on the Kintyre Peninsula near Southend. However, being still in sight of his native land, he moved farther north up the west coast of Scotland. The island of Iona was made over to him by his kinsman Columba, Gael king of Dál Riata, who perhaps had invited him to come to Scotland in the first place. However, there is a sense in which he was not leaving his native people, as the Irish Gaels had been colonizing the west coast of Scotland for the previous couple of centuries. Aside from the services he provided guiding the only center of literacy in the region, his reputation as a holy man led to his role as a diplomat among the tribes. There are also many stories of miracles which he performed during his work to convert the Picts, the most famous being his encounter with an unidentified animal that some have equated with the Loch Ness Monster in 565. It is said that he banished a ferocious water beast to the depths of the River Ness after it had killed a Pict and then tried to attack Columba's disciple. He visited the pagan King Bride, king of Fortriu, at his base in Inverness, winning the Bride's respect. Although not his conversion, he subsequently played a major role in the politics of the country. He was also very energetic in his work as a missionary, and, in addition to founding several churches in the Hebrides, he worked to turn his monastery at Iona into a school for missionaries. He was a renowned man of letters, having written several hymns and being credited with having transcribed 300 books. One of the few, if not the only, times he left Scotland was towards the end of his life, when he returned to Ireland to found the monastery at Durrow. Columba died on Iona and was buried in 597 by his monks in the abbey he created. In 794 the Vikings descended on Iona. Columba's relics were finally removed in 849 and divided between Scotland and Ireland. The parts of the relics which went to Ireland are reputed to be buried in Downpatrick, County Down, with St. Patrick and St. Brigidor at Saul Church neighbouring Downpatrick. Inchcombe and Ellen Chaluim Chill. Legacy. Ireland. St. Columba is one of the three chief saints of Ireland, after St. Patrick and St. Brigid of Kildare. Columba is the patron saint of the city of Derry, where he founded a monastic settlement in c. 540. The name of the city in Irish is Dwa Columba and is derived from the native oak trees in the area and the city's association with Columba, the Catholic Church of St. Columba's Long Tower, and the Church of Ireland St. Augustine's Church both claim to stand at the spot of this original settlement. The Church of Ireland Cathedral in Derry is dedicated to St. Columba. St. Columcille's Primary School and St. Columcille's Community School are two schools in Knockhill, Dublin, named after Street Columcille, with the former having an annual day dedicated to the saint on the 9th of June. The Columba Press, a religious and spiritual book company based in Dublin, is named after Street Columba. Aer Lingus, Ireland's national flag carrier, has named one of its Airbus A330 aircraft in commemoration of the saint. Scotland. Columba is credited as being a leading figure in the revitalization of monasticism. The Clan Malcolm, Clan MacCallum, claims its name from Columba and was reputedly founded by the descendants of his original followers. It is also said that Clan Robertson are heirs of Columba. Clan MacKinnon may also have some claim to being spiritual descendants of St. Columcille after he founded his monastery on Iona. The MacKinnons were the abbots of the church for centuries. This would also account for the fact that Clan MacKinnon is amongst the ancient clans of Scotland. The Cathedral of the Catholic Diocese of Argyll and the Isles is placed under the patronage of St. Columba, as are numerous Catholic schools and parishes throughout the nation. The Scottish Episcopal Church, the Church of Scotland, and the Evangelical Lutheran Church of England also have parishes dedicated to him. The village of Kilmocombe in Renfrewshire is also derived from Columba's name. As of 2011, Canadians who are of Scottish ancestry are the third largest ethnic group in the country, and thus Columba's name is to be found attached to Catholic, Anglican and Presbyterian parishes. This is particularly the case in eastern Canada apart from Quebec, which is French-speaking. Throughout the U.S. there are numerous parishes within the Catholic and Episcopalian denominations dedicated to Columba. Within the Protestant tradition, the Presbyterian Church also has parishes named in honor of Columba. There is even an Orthodox Church monastery dedicated to the saint in the Massachusetts town of Southbridge. St. Columba is the patron saint of the Roman Catholic Diocese of Youngstown, Ohio. The cathedral there is named for him. Iona College, a small Catholic liberal arts college in New Rochelle, New York, is named after the island on which Columba established his first monastery in Scotland, as is Iona College in Windsor, Ontario and Iona Presentation College, Perth. There are at least 4 pipe bands named for him, one each from Tullamore, Ireland, from Derry, Northern Ireland, from Kearney, New Jersey, and from Cape Cod, Massachusetts. The Munich GAA is named München Columcille's Vita Columbae. The main source of information about St. Columba's life is the Vita Columbae, a hagiography written in the style of saints' lives narratives that had become widespread throughout medieval Europe, compiled and drafted by scribes and clergymen. These accounts were written in Latin and served as written collections of the deeds and miracles attributed to the saint, both during his or her life or after death. The canonization of a saint, especially one who had lived on the fringes of the medieval Christian world like St. Columba, required a well-written hagiography to be submitted to Rome. But popular belief and local cults of sainthood often led to the veneration of these men and women without official approval from the Catholic Church. Writing a century after the death of St. Columba, the author Adomnan served as the 9th abbot of Iona until his death in 704 AD. James Earl Fraser asserts that Adomnan drew extensively from an existing body of accounts regarding the life of St. Columba, including a Latin collection entitled De Virtutibus Sancti Columbae, composed c. 640 AD. This earlier work is attributed to Columba, who became the abbot of Iona and served as the leader of the monastic island community from 656 until his death in 668 A.D. or 669 A.D. While the Vita Columbae often conflicts with contemporaneous accounts of various battles, figures, and dates, it remains the most important surviving work from early medieval Scotland and provides a wealth of knowledge regarding the Picts and other ethnic and political groups from this time period. The Vita also offers a valuable insight into the monastic practices of Iona and the daily life of the early medieval Gaelic monks. The surviving manuscripts include Generalia 1, Start Bibliothek Schaffhausen, Switzerland, Vellum, probably written before 713, British Library MS Ad. 35,110, folios 96 v 143 are probably written before 1165. British Library MS Cottonian Tiberius D3, folios 192 r 217 are written end of 12th to early 13th century. Due to fire damage in 1731, there are missing illegible portions on every page and 6 folios are missing completely. British Library MS Royal 8dix, folios 1 r 70 are written in the 15th or early 16th century. The first 8 folios are missing. Instead of relying on chronological order, Adomnan categorizes the events recorded in the Vita Columbae into 3 different books: Columba's Prophecies, Columba's Miracles, and Columba's Apparitions. Book 1. In the first book, the author Adomnan lists St. Columba's prophetic revelations, which come as a result of the saint's ability to view to the present and the future simultaneously. Most of the short chapters begin with St. Columba informing his fellow monks that a person will soon arrive on the island or an event will imminently occur. In one notable instance, Columba appears in a dream to King Oswald of Northumbria, and announces the king's incoming victory against the King Catlon in the Battle of Heavenfield. The people of Britain promised to convert to Christianity and receive baptism after the conclusion of the war. This victory signals the re-Christianization of pagan England, and establishes King Oswald as ruler of the entirety of Britain. Columba's other prophecies can be considered vindictive at times, as when he sends a man named Batten off to perform his penance. But then Columba turns to his friends and says Batten will instead return to Scotia and be killed by his enemies. Several of St. Columba's prophecies reflect the scribal culture in which he was immersed, such his miraculous knowledge of the missing letter I from Bathen's Psalter when he prophesies that an eager man will knock over his inkhorn and spill its contents. Book 2. In the second book, Columba performs various miracles such as healing people with diseases, expelling malignant spirits, subduing wild beasts, calming storms, and even returning the dead to life. He also performs agricultural miracles that would hold a special significance to the common people of Ireland and the British Isles, such as when he casts a demon out of a pail and restores the spilt milk to its container. The Vita contains a story that has been interpreted as the first reference to the Loch Ness Monster. According to Adomnan, Columba came across a group of Picts burying a man who had been killed by the monster. Columba saves the swimmer from the monster with the sign of the cross and the imprecation, "Thou shalt go no further, nor touch the man, go back with all speed." The beast flees, terrified, to the amazement of the assembled Picts who glorified Columba's god. Whether or not this incident is true, Adomnan's text specifically states that the monster was swimming in the River Ness, the river flowing from the loch, rather than in Loch Ness itself. Book 3. In Book 3, Ad Omnem describes different apparitions of the saint, both that Columba receives and those that are seen by others regarding him. He mentions that, for indeed after the lapse of many years, Saint Columba was excommunicated by a certain synod for some pardonable and very trifling reasons, and indeed unjustly. In one of the accounts, St. Columba, in this period of excommunication, goes to a meeting held against him in Teld. St. Brendan, despite of all the negative reactions among the seniors toward Columba, kisses him reverently and assures that Columba is the man of God and that he sees holy angels accompanying Columba on his journey through the plain. In the last chapter, Columba foresees his own death when speaking to his attendant. This day in the Holy Scriptures is called the Sabbath, which means rest, and this day is indeed a Sabbath to me, for it is the last day of my present laborious life, and on it I rest after the fatigues of my labors, and this night at midnight, which commenceth the solemn Lord's Day, I shall, according to the sayings of Scripture, go the way of our fathers. For already my Lord Jesus Christ deigneth to invite me, and to him, I say, in the middle of this night shall I depart, at his invitation. For so it hath been revealed to me by the Lord himself. And when the bell strikes midnight, Columba goes to the church and kneels beside the altar. His attendant witnesses heavenly light in the direction of Columba, and holy angels join the saint in his passage to the Lord. And having given them his holy benediction in this way, he immediately breathed his last. After his soul had left the tabernacle of the body, his face still continued ruddy, and brightened in a wonderful way by his vision of the angels, and that to such a degree that he had the appearance, not so much of one dead, as of one alive and sleeping.